What an awesome feeling when such an effortless and natural motion is rewarded with a nice flush contact. This is strawberry cheesecake for the senses. These are the moments in which we all feel like Tiger Woods. Unfortunately, feelings are a tricky matter at best, and in this case, the feedback you'll get might be quite misleading after all. Your technique might be as flawed as it could possibly be, and yet the club head will still make good contact with the ball every now and then. After all, it's just a matter of mere coincidence, depending on the sheer amount of balls you've hit. But on one of these shots, you may catch the ball with a sweet spot, take just the right amount of turf, your ball may fly straight towards the target, you have a wonderful feeling at impact, and you come to the conclusion, this time I've done everything correctly. Even if you mishit the following shots, there's always an explanation for it. For example, I just didn't concentrate enough, or I was thinking about too many things at the same time. In any case, the reason must simply be a mental issue, since you had just proved your technique to be fine. And this theory of yours seems to be confirmed whenever you watch golf on TV. What we can see there are amazingly unorthodox swings with incredible results. And the reason for this misconception will become obvious when a golfer has the following experience during a golf lesson. The student hits a few shots, which are all recorded by a video system, and after a few minutes, the teacher says, "Okay, let's take a look." But since the student hasn't hit a good shot yet, he insists on hitting a decent one first. And after a few more tries, he hits one well enough, and the teacher analyzes all the swings on the screen. And surprisingly, we have to realize that all the swings, including the ones which produce terrible shots and the ones which produce the cracker, are barely distinguishable from each other. So this means that the hobby golfer always swings the club in the same unorthodox fashion, and sometimes the club head catches the ball precisely at the right spot, and sometimes it deviates only an inch, and that makes all the difference. But how come, you may ask, that even tour players with weird swings almost always seem to hit the ball in the right spot, and the hobby golfer does not? Answer: it is just a matter of talent. A talent for coordination, that is. In this regard, the tour players are like gods, and we mortals are nowhere close, and it would be presumptuous to think we could get away with a swing that looks like theirs and expect consistent results. And I consider myself quite competent in this regard, because my talent, at least compared to my fellow professionals, is way below average. If, for example, my club comes into the ball only a couple of inches below the ideal plane, I hit fat shots, I hit thin shots, I push the ball, I hook the ball, and my short irons suffer dramatically. And some of my talented colleagues, on the other hand, they can come into the ball even a foot below the ideal plane, and they still hit nice and solid draws. So unless you're not super talented and blessed with a God-given gift, you will simply have to bite the bullet and try to work on a sound and proper golf swing. Of course, you may also choose a different path that forces you to live with the accidental good impact now and then, but this means that the consistency we all ache for will always be elusive to you. If you want to acquire a sound golf swing with the help of instructional videos on the internet alone, you need to turn into your own golfing instructor. By this I certainly don't mean that you have to start analyzing other players, but you have to get to know your own game thoroughly, and this starts with analyzing your ball flight in a way that is at least somehow anchored in reality. You might detect a hint of sarcasm there, and that's because most of my new students can only be called ignorant in this regard, as they simply can't describe their ball flight. Maybe it's because everybody averts their eyes in disgust from bad shots, or because no one can bear following these shots till the bitter end. Also, some of the more notorious slicers might simply be used to seeing their ball curving left to right so much that they just assume it was a straight shot whenever the ball finishes somewhere near the target. I commonly ask new students to describe their typical bad shots. And their usual answer is, I can do all of them. Left, right, top shots, fat ones, low, high, you name it. But it is almost always easy to detect a pattern. For example, pulled short irons in combination with slicing longer clubs, shots off the heel, skied tee shots, top shots going left, deep divots pointing way left of the target, etc. In contrast, no one alternately hits pull slices and push hooks because the necessary swing behind them would be too unalike. Subsequently, it is vital to observe your swing carefully in order to conclude, which is the next step, what went wrong at the moment of impact. In his limited mental capacities, the ball doesn't care whether certain swing mechanics or positions are right or wrong. The only thing that matters is whether the club face arrives at the ball correctly or not. Moving the club in a rather orthodox fashion will of course add to the probability that you will consistently hit the ball well. But if a golfer just permanently mishits the ball, he doesn't need to work on consistency. Instead, he most of all needs to find out what it was at impact that went wrong and then correct that, so that he at least can hit a straight shot every once in a while. This will be the subject of the next chapter, and there are 8 impact factors in total. And in order to hit your ball long and straight, you need to get these 8 details right, at least within certain tolerances.